The last check. When family business becomes fraud. The golden boy and the ghost. I didn't just accidentally overhear my parents deciding to leave their whole empire to my brother, Drew. I walked in on the cold, hard truth. That was before my mom, Claire, sent the text that finally sealed the deal. Don't call. Don't come. It's over between us. I stared at the screen, set my coffee down, my hands rock steady, and typed 2 words. Got it. The house was quiet, but my head rang like a fire alarm. If you've ever been erased by your own family, you know that silence can be the loudest thing in the room. When people ask what my family was like, I usually smile and say, normal. From the outside, we were goals. Dad, Richard, owned 3 successful steakhouses across the Pacific Northwest. Sterling Grill, painted in big, fancy script on every sign. Mom handled the financials. Drew handled the charm. And I, Talia, well, I handled being invisible. Our holiday cards were magazine-worthy. Matching cashmere, fake laughter, Mom's diamond studs catching the light. What no one saw was the hierarchy, the constant, subtle reminders that I was not the chosen one. Dad used to say, Drew's got business in his DNA. You've got aesthetics. He said aesthetics like it was a terminal diagnosis. When I was a teen, Drew got a sick, new, vintage sports car. I got a decent used sedan and was constantly grilled about mileage. When he blew off college to find himself, Dad bankrolled his travel. When I got into one of the country's top interior architecture programs in LA, I came home waving the acceptance letter like it was a golden ticket. Dad barely looked up. If you walk away from the steakhouses, he said, you walk away from this family's legacy. Mom stood there, lips tight, nodding. Drew just smirked like he'd just won the lottery. So, I left. I waited tables at night, tutored design students during the day, lived on instant ramen and pure caffeine. I sent postcards every semester. No one ever wrote back. But I made it. Graduated with honors, moved back to Portland, and slowly built a name for myself. By 30, I had a roster of clients, boutique hotels, high-end condos, who trusted my taste more than my own parents ever did. And still, when Mom got seriously ill, I showed up. The treatments were brutal. Insurance barely covered the high-end specialists. I didn't even think twice. I just wrote the checks. Bills, flights, specialized care. When she went into remission, she texted me, "Thanks for everything, sweetie." That was it. No call, no hug, just that text. A few years later, Drew called with his big idea. A high-concept pop-up restaurant. 6 months in, it crashed and burned. I sent him $50,000 to keep him out of bankruptcy, then another 20 to help Dad's steakhouses when their refrigeration system failed. He bragged about restructuring the business, never once mentioned my money. It's crazy the way love makes you keep writing checks long after the emotional account is overdrawn. I kept telling myself I was helping the family, that maybe this time they'd finally see me. But family isn't built on transactions, it's built on respect. And for me, that word didn't exist in the Sterling Grill vocabulary. When Dad called for yet another family business dinner, I said yes. I thought maybe they'd finally ask for ideas, not just money. Instead, that dinner became the appetizer for the cold, hard truth, the eavesdropping, and the erasure. I wasn't supposed to be home that night. I was driving over to grab an old architectural portfolio, sketches from college I needed for a massive presentation. It was close to 7 p.m. The house glowed warm behind the curtains, the kind of light that used to feel like safety. I stepped inside. The smell of Mom's fancy Italian ragu hit me. For a second, it almost felt normal again. I set my keys down quietly, about to call out. But then I heard Dad's voice, low and firm. Drew is the only one who actually cares about the future of this family's name. He's the legacy. She's just out there. Drew's laugh followed, easy and smug. So it's settled then? Everything goes to me? Dad's reply cut through me like glass. Everything. The house, the restaurants, the accounts. She's had enough from us already. Mom hesitated. Her fork clinked against her plate. She did pay for my treatments, Richard. Dad's tone hardened. That was her choice. You don't reward someone for doing what they should have done out of love. Then Drew chuckled again. Guess it's official. I'm the heir. I froze. My heart thudded so hard it drowned out their voices. They were rewriting history. Years of sacrifices, the treatments, the bailouts, all turned into background noise. I wanted to step in and scream. that I wasn't asking for an inheritance, just decency. But the part that truly broke me wasn't Dad's greed. It was Mom's silence. She didn't defend me, didn't even whisper a protest, just kept eating. I backed away slowly, afraid the creak of the floor would give me away. Driving home, my mind kept replaying it. Everything goes to Drew. Drew laughing, Mom staying quiet. When my phone buzzed that night, I thought it might be guilt. Instead, her text lit the screen like a match. Don't call or don't come. It's over between us. No punctuation, no explanation, just finality. For a full minute, I stared at the message. Then I set my coffee down, typed 2 words. Got it. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. The pain didn't explode. It seeped. It rewrote every memory. That night, I scrolled through every payment I'd made for them. Every dollar was proof of how much I'd tried to belong. And as I looked at the list, I realized belonging had never been on offer. The quiet rebellion. I didn't sleep that night. When the first light of dawn spilled across my counter, I opened my laptop, emails, invoices, auto payments, line after line of reminders that I'd been financing the same people who'd just cut me off. Mom's prescription refills, Drew's business bailouts, 2 restaurant utility bills, insurance premiums, all tied me to them like an invisible chain. I scrolled one last time, then clicked cancel on the first one, then the next and the next. Each click was a quiet rebellion, a sound only I could hear. I checked my bank balance, months of late nights, all drained for their crises. I whispered to the empty room, not anymore. By mid-morning, I'd cut every financial connection. No payments, no safety net, no access. Then I opened the folder that still sat on my table. My new restaurant concept. The one I was going to present to them. The one they would have certainly laughed at. Cost analysis, renovation plans, branding concepts, my work, my mine. They'd called my career a waste. So I decided to make it worth something. That afternoon, I called a contact from a hospitality conference, a project manager at a major national chain, Pacific Bistro Group. Hey, I said, my tone light, remember that sustainable design concept I mentioned? I've got a full proposal ready. Can you see it? Tomorrow, he asked. Out tomorrow? I confirmed. That evening, my phone exploded. Drew's name, then Dad's, then Mom's. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't care anymore, but because I finally did, for myself. By midnight, I'd cleared the last trace of them from my finances. The only thing left was silence, and in that silence, something new began. The calm of someone who's finally stopped begging, to be loved by the wrong people. They wanted it to be over between us. Fine. I was going to show them what over really looked like. The final reckoning. The next morning, my phone was a hot mess of missed calls and texts. Drew's message was a total freakout. You selfish brat, fix this. Mom's came last, soft and rehearsed. Sweetheart, please call us. This isn't like you. I muted the phone. An email was waiting from Pacific Bistro Group. Subject. Loved your concept. Can we meet tomorrow to discuss partnership? I smiled. They thought cutting me off would destroy me, but all it did was make room for something better. The calls turned desperate. Dad sent an email with the subject line, URGENT, restore payments immediately. That evening, as I was leaving the office, someone stepped out from the shadows of the parking garage. Drew. You've been ignoring us, he hissed. Busy, I replied. Turn the payments back on. His face was red. You think you can just walk away? You think you're better than us? I met his eyes. No, Drew. I think I finally stopped pretending we're family. He clenched his jaw, but before he could launch a full meltdown, my coworker, Tom, appeared with 2 others. Everything okay, Talia? Drew glared at them, realizing the confrontation was no longer private. This isn't over, he muttered. Yes, I said quietly. It is. He stormed off, his tremor telling me he'd already lost control. A few days later, Drew's fiancée, Madison, showed up at my office. Her eyes were swollen. He doesn't know I'm here, she whispered, holding a folder against her chest. You need to see this. She slid the folder across the desk. It wasn't about the bailouts. It was receipts, bank statements, transaction summaries, restaurant funds, wired to personal accounts, luxury watch purchases, Vegas trips, tens of thousands of dollars siphoned out of the family's restaurant accounts over 3 years. Drew had been stealing from his own parents' business. I'm leaving him, Madison whispered, tears streaming. I can't marry someone who steals from his own family. I looked at the documents. Madison had just given me the ultimate receipts. The next afternoon, Dad texted, Family meeting tomorrow, 2:00. Elite club downtown. No greeting, just a demand. I arrived. They were already there. Mom staring out the window, Dad stiff. Drew scrolling his phone. They looked up in perfect unison, like predators spotting prey. Dad spoke first. Your childish tantrum is destroying the family business? I laughed softly. Childish? You mean cutting off the money you used without asking? Sweetheart, we can fix this, Mom pleaded. Just turn the payments back on. No. Drew leaned back, smirking. She's bitter. Always has been. I opened my bag and pulled out Madison's folder. Funny. You might want to read these before calling me bitter. I laid the documents on the table. Receipts, bank transfers, every line item documented. Drew's smirk faltered. What is this? Evidence, I said, of how you've been stealing from the Sterling Grill accounts for 3 years. Dad snatched the papers. His face went ashen, then red. Mom covered her mouth. Drew shoved his chair back. These are fake. She made them up. I didn't make them up. Your former fiancé gave them to me. I cut in. Madison, she left you. Smart woman. For the first time, Dad looked lost. Even if this is true, he said, voice trembling, it's still family business, right? And family helps family, remember? Drew sneered. You think you're better 'cause you design fancy lounges for rich people? No, I said, standing up. Because I build something real. Something that lasts. I placed another folder on the table. The business proposal they'd have called a waste of time. I sold this to Pacific Bistro Group yesterday. $500,000. Mom's fork slipped from her fingers. Drew stared at me like he couldn't process the words. Dad's face drained completely of color. They loved it, I continued. Said it's exactly the eco-friendly design they wanted for all 40 of their restaurants. Looks like my useless degree finally paid off. You stole our idea, Drew yelled, slamming his hand on the table. No, I said, calm as ever. You rejected it. Big difference. I took a slow sip of my coffee. Let's see how your chosen son saves you now. Dad's voice came low, a growl. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, gathering my things, but at least I'll regret it on my own terms. As I walked toward the door, Mom's voice followed, weak and trembling. Talia, please. I turned just enough to meet her eyes. You told me not to call, not to come. Remember? I walked out. The air outside was cool and cleansing. I stood under it for a moment, breathing in the freedom. For the first time in my life, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't scared. I was free. That night, I came home to quiet. $500,000 sat in my account. Not revenge money, just proof that I didn't need their permission to matter. Now they'd have to learn how to survive without me. Peace had a flavor. It tasted like freedom and victory. 6 months passed. Aunt Patricia finally called with the gossip. They lost everything, honey. All 3 steakhouses gone. Bankruptcy, lawsuits. Drew's facing charges for embezzlement. Your father's working a part-time gig at Home Depot. Your mother's at the mall. They asked about you, she hesitated. I think they finally understand. I almost laughed. Maybe. But that understanding was too late. I scrolled through my old messages. Mom's text still sat there. Don't call or don't come. It's over between us. For the first time, I felt no pain reading it. Just distance. I opened my studio early the next morning. The light poured in, clean and bright. The past felt smaller in that glow. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's peace. No yelling, no begging, no proving anymore. Just the quiet satisfaction of walking away and watching the truth do its work.